Hey everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Nazca. This is turn... It feels so weird just saying Nazca. I always feel like I gotta say a title and then where we're playing Nazca, right? Whatever. It's turn 8. things and stuff. Let's go, right? Alright, right off the bat we have summoned some condors. Fantastic. This is going to be a big boon for us. We have the proclamation of our prophet, Calypso. Very good. We lost a unit on a march from Forest of Pine to Bara, which is whatever, right? We are attacking into Miratrand. We know this is just a ping. We are just trying to identify how many freaking deer tribe there are here, and it's not that many. We're fine. So this is relatively not a big deal. They actually gonna kill that Apu? Did he bleed? Oh, he raged. Gotcha. Alright, so 69. That's a fair amount, but it's not the end of the world. It's not the 90 that we've seen a couple times, right? So, no big deal. You may note there is no bump with Agartha. Didn't really expect there to be. It was a possibility, but it seemed like a very out of left field move to do. So we have attacked in Satrandith. Let's see how that goes for us. This should be relatively simple, although there are some archers that are probably going to fire into our archers, so we might have a little bit of a loss there. Actually, we dropped very nicely on that. Very good. Very Ooh, hey, we wiped the floor. We lost a single Hatenruna. That is actually very nicely done. We've reached kind of a critical mass there for a smaller province, not for like a bigger province. So that's good. Okay, so battles this turn. 1 win, 1 loss versus Indies. Very nice. Exactly what we were hoping there. Everything going according to plan. Except that we haven't gotten super mega awesome income provinces. So that's not according to plan. But whatever, you know? We've got an event, Forest of Pines. Okay, come on. We have not... We had 2 bad events, and then we had 2 good gym events. Alright, cool. Come on. And we also get a lab, right? So we are technically up on events, I suppose, right? So there's that. What do we got? Fallen leaves and magic gems have been found in a badger's den. We get earth gems. Alright, so I'm definitely not gonna be like, ugh, earth gems. Great, we got some earth gems. That's fantastic. Earth is gonna be useful to us. I would rather have gotten some air gems or some money. That would have been really nice. But we have gotten a fair amount of gems from events over the course of the past couple turns. So, yeah, I'm not gonna look the gift horse in the mouth necessarily, right? So, that is good for us at least. Notate earth gems real quick. Okay, what are we doing this turn? Alright. Stuff and things. Van took Mines of Despair. We knew they were going to be doing that. Looks like Agartha went left. Now, this does call some things into question, right? Because, again, this leaves Old Man Mountains kind of contested. If Agartha goes up, it is very possible, right? It's Wolf Tribe, but Wolf Tribe's not going to stand very well against base infantry, a mix of heavy and light, right? I say that. I mean, Wolf Tribe will do okay. This is like a 50-50. The other thing, though, that we see is that Agartha has not expanded down here, so I think it's way more likely that they are going to head to the south than it is for them to head north, right? So we're going to move our scout over there just to see if we can keep an eye on things, right? The other thing of note is that they have not expanded into Ironwood Forests, meaning that there's no army waiting in the wings that we're definitely going to bump with or anything like that. So we are targeting Mark, right? We're going for this. Now, there are knights here, but there aren't any knights on the map, which what that tends to mean is that there are very few of them, and there are very few units here, period. So I'm hopeful that we're gonna be fine alpha striking this. Okay. The other thing is that it looks like Ashdod moved into Thornwoods last turn with their mercenaries, the Quick Spears, right? But they have not moved into Pavonia, right? So I think we are very safe to attack Pack Woods with our new army here, led by Kusi the Inca, right? No special, no additional paths or anything like that. So we've got our Sacreds on a hold and attack rear. We've got our regular mixed flyers on a hold and attack closest. We've got some bodyguards just in case. Divine Blessing, Air Shield, because that's pretty much the only magic that we really have right now. That should take Packwoods without any real issue, thus kind of like sealing our northern border with Ashdod between these two thrones and this pond, which means we can then leap into taking this territory, right? So we want to seal the rest of our immediate expansion. The only kind of like outlier there is Old Man Mountains, and if we have to, we gotta risk it. We just gotta we have not had great expansion, so we've got to risk giving something up. That's the one that we're risking giving up. It's not a very great province to begin with, so that's the one on the chopping block. Okay. All right. What do I want to talk about? Interesting things. Because of that Earth event, right? We are able to just go ahead and send the final Earth gems that we had been giving to Yis. So that's out of the way. So we can actually start accruing a little bit of a base for Earth. So that's good. I talked about the idea of potentially alchemizing and doing another Summon Condor group this turn. We are not going to do that. One, because we're immediately sending out an army, so even if I did alchemize, I wouldn't be putting those on anyone, right? So there's not really a point to doing that. We might do that in the following turn to go with our next Inca, because we're immediately getting another Inca. So recruitment-wise, we're getting 1 Inca, 4 Condor Warriors, 6 Alcac Spearmen, 6 more Heavy Infantry, and I'm just gonna throw this in with the recruitment because I know we have like a known quantity, and it kind of counts as like recruiting. But we're getting 2 Sapayas, right? So that is the recruitment for the turn. And what that means is in 2 more turns, we're going to have a second Inca, right? So on turn 10, we will be able to move this Inca with an army, and that army should include 4 Condor Warriors, or no, 8 Condor Warriors, maybe 9, depending on, no, it should be 9, not maybe 9, it should be 9, right? 10 to 15 Alcrack Spearmen, maybe 20 to 30 Hatan Runa, depending on the situation, and potentially 4 Supaya. Not potentially 4 Supaya. If we want to send them, we'll have 4 Supaya. And it's at that point of, if we want to alchemize the turn before that to throw some Condors in there, that's when I think it's the better idea to alchemize. I'm still hoping that we don't have to alchemize because I'm still reaching out for trades, and there's always the possibility that we actually get an air event. But that would be wild, right? An air event or a gold event would just be crazy, right? Those things never happen. So anyways, me over here lamenting. That I think is going to be a pretty big deal. So that is going to allow, on turn 9, we will hopefully have taken Packwoods and Mark, right? On turn 10, right, I'm hoping that I'm going to try to just jump over these provinces potentially and try to go for the coast to try to cut it off, and then we'll backfill. So hopefully we will be taking like Omiya. Maybe we'll take Miratrand, because I do know that Miratrand is going to be relatively easy, especially for like this group. That'll be a very easy fight. So maybe we'll do from Packwoods down to Miratrand and from Mark up to Naranthian, right? Because Naranthian looks like it's also going to be a small province, unfortunately. Not getting a lot of good provinces here, but if we do that, right, I think we'll be able to kind of like close out our stuff. And then on the following turn, we will have one more Inca that can join into Mammoth Grove or into Golm or wherever we need them to, right, to try to kind of close things out. And that will then be able to combine into a decently sized army of about 30-ish Condor warriors and potentially 30-ish Condors and maybe another, 40 or so mixed Spearmen and Hatenruna, right? That is not horrible for the end of year 1 to have access to, right? It's not going to be a phenomenal fighting force, but it's a fighting force that we could drop on an Agarthan army, or, God, I hope not a Van army. Oh my goodness. Ugh, yeah, I don't want to fight Van. Van is not, yeah. That is not what I want to do in any way, shape, form, fashion. Oh, I'm still counting these, right? So, I'm actually having to count and compare versus each turn. So, this turn we captured 12 Hatenruna. So actually quite a bit lower compared to last turn. So that's a little annoying. But we're going to run into some issues with actually being able to capture them. Did we do any this turn? We didn't, right? But we might start running into the issue next turn, in that our unrest is too high to continue capturing. So we're probably going to have capture, maybe capture, and then failure to capture, right? Because our unrest is too high. As we get access to more of the Hatenruna, we'll just be leaving them here to patrol that unrest down. And eventually you get enough of a critical mass to where you can patrol it down to 0 basically every turn. At which point we're not super worried about it anymore. And then we can start to funnel any of the additional Hatenruna out, right? We've got this guy up here. I think I really wanted my first fort to be Amul, right? Because I do think it's actually a pretty good fort location. I think more likely it's going to be Mighty Pillars, because I think Mighty Pillars is just safer at this current point in time. I wanted to start it this turn. We do not have the income to start it this turn. I wanted to save money to start it next turn. I do not think that is going... I do not think that we have the option. I think I need the forces, right? So I've recruited more heavy infantry. Again, trying to create that kind of wall here. Well, not here, but trying to create units that can become a little bit of a wall that we can put around our mages or put on guard commander or things like that, right? Or just use in like a cap defense, because that's what I'm assuming is going to be the biggest thing. So we'll see how that goes, right? Other than that, a relatively quiet turn. No huge implications, but good news for us, right? Like, we should be able to secure one of the 3 with Agartha. We should be able to take 2 of the 3 with Ashdod. Now it just matters what is going on our coast. And I think I mentioned it earlier, right? But we all kind of expect early and frequent aggression from the underwater nations. And it sounds like that has started up, right? Sounds like there have been some bumps, a couple of probes, some poking and prodding. No immediate like, oh, this person bumped and got everything wiped and now they're just destroyed, right? Nothing like that. But yeah, we'll see how things develop. Other thing to talk about is because we are not able to do a second casting of condors, we are going to be researching again with our god, meaning we should be finishing up Evocation 1, but not Evocation 2. We're 2 research points below. I actually did consider, instead of doing Summon Supayas this turn, just researching with my Prophet, just to get past this point. But I actually think, I don't think it matters too terribly much, because I'm more interested in 1 than I am 2, at least in immediacy. All we're doing here, right, is we're just trying to secure ourselves some easy things to do, specifically some things to do with our Incas as they're going out, right? Because these guys are Fire 2, Air 2. I mean, I guess technically they could just do Wind of Memories. No, that's the Banishment. They could do Heavenly Strike, which is fine, right? Like, Heavenly Strike could be okay. 50 range is enough to hit pretty much everything. Armor negating, Lightning Death. Okay, cool, fine, whatever. But being able to mix in, being able to do, like, Phoenix Power, which we already have access to, and do something like a Flame Bolt is actually not bad, right? This thing is armor piercing. It hits relatively hard. It does increased damage for the higher amount, and it has increased range. So you can actually get this thing up to 50 and have it be doing 24 damage. You can actually snipe some people with that. So yeah, right? That is worth, I think, grabbing just to see what our opportunities are there. And then we're probably going to be running up maybe enchantment, probably enchantment. It kind of depends, right? Like, I don't know what. We have such a strange mix around us, right? Between Ashdod, Van, Agartha, and whoever our underwater neighbor is going to be, that we don't have a very clear cut and dry of like, oh, we absolutely need to immediately go for this. I'm considering just continuing up Conjuration, right? But I don't think elementals are going to be super useful for us against. They can be pretty useful against Van, but I don't think they're going to be very useful against Ashdod, Agartha, right? Because if you're thinking about the type of elementals that we can use against them, air elementals would be pretty good against Agartha, I guess, for the most part. But we're probably not going to have that many air gems. Not if we're doing condors, right? And then earth elementals are going to do okay. Fire elementals probably won't do. Well, I don't know. It depends on whether or not they're. I assume that they're going to be protecting themselves against fire because of, magma children, right? So our fire elementals aren't going to do well against, or do much of anything against magma children. And if he's protecting his armies against his own magma children, then fire elementals aren't going to do very much there either, right? So, and water elementals aren't an option. So, I don't know that earth element or just earth elementals are going to be super big deal against Agartha, especially since Agartha can just do their own earth elementals. Air elementals can be good against Van. I think the trample works well against them. Fire. The problem with them is like they have resistances to deal with things like fire elementals, which would be a good option if they didn't have resistances. And then they have magic weapons, right? So they're just gonna chop shop any elementals that come their way, like anything that has like ethereal or anything, right? Like, I guess again, earth elementals might be okay, and then elementals just really aren't gonna be a big deal against Ashdod basically at all, right? Because they're not gonna trample well, and Ashdod hits hard enough on basically everything it has to just kill, or reduce in size, which makes them less and less and less efficient. So I don't know that air or that elementals are going to be a big deal. But if I could just get to the point to where I have like a flight of 50 Supayas and 20 Huacas and 90 Condors, it's like, okay, yeah, we're starting to just go to that point to where it doesn't matter necessarily, right? But I don't know that that's gonna happen. So I'm unsure of where we want to go. I do think evocations are a potentially good option for us, depending on what gets thrown at us early, right? Having some good evocations is actually going to be really useful against some of these early fights. Sulfur Haze, for example, right, can actually do pretty good against Agartha, for example, right? The ability to... Yeah. So not against... Oh, actually, these guys don't have. I thought they had poison resistance inherently. I guess not. These guys do. The Shard Guard do. So if he's doing a bless, right, like these guys are gonna kind of fuck that up. But if he's just running around, if he scales and he's just running around with like his heavy infantry and his light infantry, and he starts to like supplement with ancient ones or defenders of the halls or whatever, right? Like basically relying on his tough armor. Then, I mean, something like Sulfur Haze can actually penetrate through that and do a fair amount of damage. Alternatively, like, getting to the point where we just have some Lightning Bolt spam works very well on that. Something like Van is more difficult, right? Because Van does have, we saw all those resistances there. But if you script something like a Flame Bolt, right? The AI might not want to cast it themselves off script, right? But if you script something like a Flame Bolt, this can still hit a Van and it can still punch through 10 fire resistance, right? So that can be pretty useful. I don't know. It kind of depends on what we're going up against. One of the big things I would say early on is Shadow Bolt. If we're close enough to level 3, getting a bunch of like Huron priests and doing Shadow Bolts can actually be pretty useful, because this is just it's not elemental, right? And it's armor negating. So there's not really a defending against it. And then obviously like moving up to Shadow Blast, if we have the opportunity, Shadow Blast does a shit ton of damage. And if people aren't expecting, 7 Shadow Blasts to go off in their face, right? Like you start a battle and you're like, oh, we're fighting Nazca. They're gonna fucking like, they're gonna mass fly, or not mass flight, but they're gonna fly us. We need to just like set everyone to hold an attack. You put like 6 or 7 Huron priests on your front line and basically give them all gems and say, okay, Shadow Blast, go. And they go, Shadow Blast, Shadow Blast. That can actually do a lot of damage to an enemy that is unsuspecting of that situation. So that's an opportunity. And there's other things that we get along the way, right? Like we do have the ability for like decent Earthquake plays. I don't think that really matters too terribly much against what we're up against, Ashdod, Van, and Agartha, because they all have decent armor. So Earthquake's probably not going to be a big deal for us. But I mean, there are things that we're going to get as we go through this that are potentially useful. I just don't know how far up evocation we want to get. Anyways, I freaking went way overboard on talking about what I think we might be doing for our research. Right now, we're just going to get evocation 1 and 2, and we're going to see where we go. So, that's going to be it for the turn. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.